Fear is the shadow of the mind. When we face the light of truth, the shadow disappears. It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements if it were all well invested. But when it is squandered in heedless luxury and spent on no good activity, we are forced at last by death's final constraint to realize that it has passed away before we knew it was passing. The only thing to fear is fear itself. This quote suggests that fear is the only thing that can truly harm us. When we are afraid, we are more likely to make mistakes and to take unnecessary risks. We are also less likely to pursue our goals and to live our best lives. Marcus Aurelius. It's not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. Death is a natural part of life, and it is something that we cannot control. However, we can control how we live our lives. We can choose to live our lives to the fullest, or we can choose to live in fear. It is a reminder that we should not waste our time on things that are not important. We should focus on living a meaningful life and on achieving our goals. Marcus Aurelius's quote, "It's not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live," is a powerful reminder that we should not waste our time on things that are not important. We should focus on living a meaningful life and on achieving our goals. There are many ways to live a meaningful life. For some people, it means pursuing their passions and making a difference in the world. For others, it means spending time with loved ones and creating lasting memories. Whatever it means to you, it is important to find what gives your life meaning and to pursue it with all your heart. It is also important to remember that life is short. We never know when our time will come, so it is important to make the most of every moment. Don't be afraid to take risks and to step outside of your comfort zone. Go after what you want in life, even if it seems impossible. Imagine that life is a journey. You start out at point A and your goal is to reach point B. Along the way, you will face many challenges and obstacles. But if you never start the journey, you will never reach your goal. Death is not the end of the journey. It is simply the transition from one state of being to another. So don't be afraid of death. Be afraid of never starting the journey of life. Start living today. Pursue your passions, make a difference in the world, and create lasting memories with the people you love. Death is a reminder that we should not be afraid of death. We should live our lives in such a way that we have nothing to regret when we die. We should also be grateful for the time that we have and make the most of it. Marcus Aurelius was a great philosopher and emperor. He was known for his wisdom and his strength of character. He was also a compassionate and caring leader. Imagine that you are living in a video game. You have one life, and you can't start over if you die. You want to make sure that you live your life to the fullest and experience everything that the game has to offer. In the same way, we should live our lives as if they were a video game. We have one life, and we can't start over if we die. We should make sure that we experience everything that life has to offer and that we don't waste any time. We should not be afraid to take risks and to try new things. We should also cherish our relationships with the people we love, and we should be grateful for the time that we have and make the most of it. Stoicism is a philosophy that teaches us to accept what we cannot change and to focus on what we can control. Stoics believe that fear is a natural human emotion, but that it is important to control our fears so that they do not control us. You can choose Stoicism for overcome your fear, or be like Spartanism to control your fears. A Spartan does not fear death. He fears never living a life worthy of dying for. A Spartan fears nothing. He only fears not being the best Spartan he can be. Spartan value of excellence. It suggests that a Spartan should always strive to be the best Spartan he can be, and that he should not fear anything else. The Spartans were a people who were not afraid of anything. They faced their fears head-on and believed that it was important to be tough and resilient. Spartanism is a philosophy that emphasizes discipline and courage. Spartans believed that fear was a weakness and that it was important to overcome their fears in order to become stronger and more courageous. They also believed that it was important to face challenges head-on. Imagine a world where one man and his army stood against 1,000,000 soldiers and fought to the death. What if the greatest story of courage and sacrifice in history was never told? A young boy named Leonidas. He was a strong and brave boy, but he had one fear that he could not shake: fear of heights. Leonidas had grown up in the Spartan city, which was built on a hilltop overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. He had seen many people fall from the high walls and perish on the rocks below. As a result, he was terrified of even going near the edge of a cliff. One day, Leonidas's father, a Spartan soldier, told him that he was going to be sent to the mountains to train. Leonidas was terrified, but he knew that he could not refuse his father's orders. The next day, Leonidas was set off into the mountains alone. He had nothing with him but his spear and his shield. He walked for days, and the mountains became more and more treacherous with each passing day. Leonidas had to climb steep cliffs, cross raging rivers, and battle wild animals, but he never gave up. He kept walking, and he kept fighting for his life. One day, Leonidas came to a narrow ridge that led to the top of a mountain. The ridge was so narrow that Leonidas could only put one foot in front of the other. On either side of the ridge was a deep abyss. Leonidas knew that he had to cross the ridge to complete his training, but he was terrified of falling. He took a deep breath and started to walk. As Leonidas walked across the ridge, his legs began to shake. He felt dizzy and nauseous. He wanted to turn back, but he knew that he couldn't. He had to keep going. Finally, Leonidas reached the other side of the ridge. He collapsed to the ground, exhausted and relieved. He had faced his fear and conquered it. One night, Leonidas was camping in a clearing in the jungle when he heard a noise. He stopped and turned around, but he couldn't see anything. He held his spear tightly and listened. The growl came again, closer this time. Leonidas's heart was pounding in his chest. He knew that he was being stalked by a predator. Leonidas slowly backed away, keeping his eyes on the jungle around him. He could feel the predator's eyes on him, but he couldn't see it anywhere. Suddenly, the predator burst out of the jungle, and he saw a pair of glowing eyes in the darkness. He knew that it was a tiger, and it was huge. The tiger roared and lunged at Leonidas. Leonidas stood up and faced the tiger. He was not afraid. He had a spear and a shield, and he was confident that he could defeat the tiger. The tiger roared and charged at Leonidas. Leonidas raised his spear and thrust it at the tiger, but the tiger was too quick. It dodged the spear and slashed at Leonidas with its paw. Leonidas cried out in pain. The tiger had cut him deeply on the arm. Leonidas knew that he was in trouble. He had to defeat the tiger quickly, or he would die. Leonidas charged at the tiger again. This time, he was able to land a blow on the tiger with his spear. The tiger roared in pain and fell to the ground. Leonidas finished off the tiger with a few more stabs. He had defeated the tiger, but he was badly injured. He knew that he needed to find help quickly. Leonidas raised his spear. Leonidas stood over the tiger, his spear dripping with blood. He had faced his fear and conquered it. Leonidas stumbled through the jungle for hours. He was losing blood and consciousness. Finally, Leonidas collapsed to the ground, his arm bleeding heavily. The tiger had clawed him deeply, but he had managed to kill it. Leonidas knew that he needed to treat his wound, but he also knew that he couldn't stay in one place for too long. He was in the jungle, and there were other predators out there. Leonidas gritted his teeth and stood up. He wrapped his torn clothing around his arm to try to stop the bleeding. Then he started walking again. Leonidas's arm was throbbing with pain, and he was starting to feel dizzy. But he knew that he had to keep going. He had faced his fear of the tiger, and he would not let anything stop him from completing his journey. Leonidas walked for days, his arm throbbing with pain. He stumbled and fell several times, but he always got back up. He was determined to reach his destination, no matter what. Leonidas continued his journey through the jungle. He faced many more challenges, but he never gave up. He knew that he had to overcome his fears in order to become a stronger and more courageous Spartan soldier. Finally, Leonidas reached the clearing where he was to meet his trainer. He was exhausted and in pain, but he was also triumphant. He had faced his fear and conquered it. Leonidas went on to become a great Spartan soldier. He led his army to victory in many battles, and he was known for his courage and his determination. He never forgot his experience crossing the ridge in the mountains. He knew that he could overcome any challenge if he faced it head-on. The story of Leonidas is a reminder that we all have the power to overcome any challenge we face. Even when we are hurt and exhausted, we can persevere if we have the courage and determination to do so. Leonidas was a Spartan boy who was afraid of the jungle, also a boy who was afraid of heights, but he faced his fear and conquered it. He went on to become a great Spartan soldier and a wise leader, but he faced his fear and conquered it. We can all learn from Leonidas's example. We can all face our fears and overcome them if we have the courage to do so. Spartanism. The story of Leonidas is a reminder that the Spartans were a people who were not afraid of anything. They were trained from a young age to be tough and resilient. They were also taught to face their fears head-on. The Spartans believed that fear was a weakness. They believed that it was important to overcome their fears in order to become stronger and more courageous. The Spartans also believed that it was important to face challenges head-on. They believed that it was better to die fighting than to live in fear. Thank you for joining me on this journey of exploring the Spartan way of life and Stoicism teaching. If you're still with me, I'm truly grateful for your support. It's time to take the lessons we've learned and apply them to our own lives. Let's face our challenges head-on, live courageously, and never give up. Subscribe to this channel and like this video to stay connected and join the Stoicism and Spartanism community. Let's create a discussion in the comments below about how we can challenge ourselves and grow together. Share your thoughts and experiences, and let's inspire each other to be the best versions of ourselves. Share your knowledge in the comments.